Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Well-Being, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest.
Hi, I'm Bob Ross. Yes, that's actually my name, Bob Ross, like the famous painter.
This episode includes discussion of trauma, PTSD, abuse, chronic illness, suicidal thoughts, and medical experiences. Listener discretion is advised.
To let my parents know they're going to give me a famous name and a good one. So glad to be with you. They used to call me, they're going to call me a Renaissance man now because I've had many careers, some all at the same time. And I have a real gift with, especially with emotional healing and treating cancer and other things. So I've actually had a passion to help people since I was 6 years old. In fact, I had a siren on my bicycle that I'd ride around the neighborhood bandaging people up, even if they didn't need it, which is kind of ironic because my dad was a mortician and his dad was a mortician. I was the oldest boy. I was supposed to be an undertaker. And instead, according to my father, son, you've gone to the dark side. But I've always loved that. And my grandfather is a famous research chemist. And so I've always loved science. My mom was a professional musician, so I've always loved music. And so I pursued all of that. So my undergraduate, I started as a double major in music and physics, and then specialized in physics, graduated with distinction in medical physics, in nuclear physics, then went on to a graduate program, a PhD program at a famous medical school in medical physics to treat cancer patients.
So you have a big brain.
I have a big brain, and I'm glad I still have it. Yes. So when I was there, I helped make one of the biggest breakthroughs probably ever in cancer therapy. It's called the hyperthermia effect. So discovered if you increase the temperature of cancer cells, it made them weak. So if you did that before a treatment with sauna, just heat up the body, and nowadays infrared is even better, you would use less chemo or radiation. And it basically got suppressed. And my understanding was because it cut into profits. In fact, a physician told me a while back that the FDA actually made it illegal. But there are no detrimental side effects to the patient. I was so more than upset. I was nauseated. And I spent 11 years in school. I finished my internship and I walked away from the field of traditional cancer therapy. And so I went into emergency medicine because we're the best in the world for that. No one compares. Mm-hmm. So I signed up with the Pasadena Fire Department. They have an EMS reserve program. So I volunteered my services all 38 years. Still active, still love it. And since I volunteered my services, I need sources of income. So I play trumpet and sing professionally, did stand-up comedy, some voiceover work. I worked as a motion picture set medic for 20 years now. So I've worked on The Amazing Race, SWAT SEAL team, lead medic on American Ninja Warrior for 6 seasons. Great experiences. And I've also had such a passion for not just physical healing, but emotional healing. And I have a gift. And part of that gift is I have a very strong intuitive ability. So even on the fire department, so like in an event at the Rose Bowl, I'll literally hear go to tunnel 3. But I'm at tunnel 7, I'm supposed to be there. But if it doesn't make sense, I know it's a good hit. And usually when I get there within 20 seconds, somebody needs my help. And sometimes they would have died otherwise. That intuition also helps me when I'm helping people deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, phobias, and addictions. And I am seeing some absolutely wonderful things. And I know that Nikki has on her podcast here a focus on mental health and also on business. And I found out that with mental health, it can affect business because I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And I could not understand why everything I tried failed. In fact, my friends were saying, Bob, you just sabotaged that. No, you just sabotaged it. So I was so confused. And there's a period of time when life just fell apart. You may have had a time like that, right? So relationships, finances, everything just boom, work. And I was so distressed. And I went to see a very well-known PhD psychologist. And several sessions in, he says, this is interesting, Bob. I believe that you have a fear of success. Go, what are you talking about? I want to be successful. We all want to be
Not
successful.
afraid of
Yes.
it. I want it.
Thank you. And so I said, okay, so what do I do to fix it? Bob, that's up to you. What? Yeah, it's just an individual thing. Oh, no, doc, you tell me what to do. I'll do it. No, it's just for you. I was so frustrated. He couldn't tell me what to do to solve it. So I set out on my own, and this is key. So I didn't take that answer just as it was. I set out on my own and I studied with Tony Robbins in person. A whole bunch of folks studied with Gary Craig, who invented EFT tapping in person. Unbelievable. And developed all these skills. And I found out things through that, even with Tony Robbins, that the psychologist didn't even know. That's weird. So the thing that was discovered for me was that any limiting belief, if whatever we're doing doesn't line up with that belief, so you may have been told that money is the root of all evil. That's not what scripture says. It says the love of money. That's a whole different thing. But people don't know that. So if they think that money is the root of all evil, they're going to sabotage their success. So in my case, I didn't want to be seen. There was trauma in my childhood. And as a result, I didn't want to be seen unless I was in control. So I was okay if I was performing on stage, but otherwise I didn't want to be seen. But I'd never put that together. One of the purposes of our brain is to keep us safe. And that's the key. If it violates what a core belief is, it's not safe to be seen. That's really what it was. It's not safe to be seen. Our brains will never violate that. So that's why you have to get to the core of why we're having that belief and then convert it. So there are like 150 patents in my family line. I invented all sorts of things. And so I invented a brain technique for my own self to help reprogram, first off, to heal that trauma and to reprogram that limiting belief into something positive. And that was like the foundation where things just launched in terms of being able to help people, getting great insights. And I started a coaching program now for cancer patients. And it's just awesome.
Before we get too far away from it, I had a guest on my podcast in season 2 called Mark Stephen Porro. And he has been on a bunch of TV shows as well. So you're in good company. I do have other people who have done that.
Very nice.
He lives in France now.
Oui, oui. My mon chéri.
But he was pretty cool to look up as well.
Oh, I bet.
Because I looked up his IMDb and he had a pretty big set of it.
Very nice.
But he had a book that he wrote about taking care of his mom.
Yeah, I got to take care of my dad in his last days. Very emotionally difficult, but what an honor it was. Yeah.
That was his sentiments as well. Very honored to do it, but it was very difficult.
Yes. And if I may, since we'll be talking about some medical things as we go on, it's important that I give this disclaimer. This conversation is not to be construed as medical advice. Always consult a healthcare professional prior to starting or changing any treatment program.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yep. And I come at mental health from the direction of somebody who has it, not as somebody who's studied about it. I have all those fancy initials after my name, but none of them have to do with college, and all of them have to do with my mom.
Yeah.
90% of them with my mom.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you came up with a system to change your mindset.
It's actually to change a limiting belief. So our brains basically have the conscious mind and then the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is the filter.
Yeah.
So if you told me, hey, Bob, you're actually a girl, or you have brown eyes, I know that's not true. So my brain, conscious brain, flags it as false, but it goes in as something I heard and flagged as false. The brown eyes probably wasn't a good idea because I have blue eyes and I can just look in the mirror. But if I heard the same thing over and over, all of a sudden it'd be a question mark, and then all of a sudden I have a new belief. And kids in the first 6 to 8 years of life, they're like a sponge. That's where most of our limiting beliefs come from. And so if they're told, Johnny, you're no good, Johnny, you're no good, guess what happens to Johnny? He turns into a kid who's no good. They call it conscious parenting now, which is wonderful. Just to be very aware, Johnny, that was a bad thing you did. However, you're a good boy, and there are consequences. We're going to learn from this, but emphasizing that you are not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually recently had to come to terms with one of my limiting beliefs. So I work with a company I work with a bunch of people who work with a company. How about that? Let's
Yes.
get more complicated. Why not? And their whole thing is detox, but they have a thing with mushrooms in it. This whole recipe of mushrooms. It's not just one type, right? And some other stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to get into an ingredients list because I don't care to. But it's supposed to help with your mental health. When the company first came out with it, I had people being like, hey, you should get on this. It'll cure you. Okay.
Pretty bold statement.
Bold of you to assume that. But second of all, and most importantly, my trauma started before I can remember, right?
Yep.
So I've always been, ta-da, me. If I'm all of a sudden cured of all of the stuff that has made me who I am suddenly disappears out of my brain, who am I? And so for the longest time, I wouldn't even try to take the medicine. I was like, I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm on meds. I'm fine. I don't need this. But that was more the failing of the people who were bringing it to me, because obviously it could help my situation.
Right.
It probably wouldn't hurt my situation unless I was allergic to mushrooms or something else in it. But the big thing is, none of them ever meant that it would cure me, because that's one of the things they can't say about their products. So that's not how they said it. That's not how they meant it, but it's how my brain received it.
Sure.
As take this, there's something wrong with you. You need to fix it, and this will fix it. And so my brain went, yeah, then we're not doing that. Because we don't know what it would be like to not be me. So my brain just was like, there's nothing to fight here. This is just one of those situations where it's not something we're going to do.
Yep.
But I did finally get over myself, and I have it. It's on its way here. So I am going to try it. But for the longest time, I wouldn't, just because of the way I perceived what people were saying to me. It's not even how anybody meant it. It's not how anybody said it, but it's how my brain kicked in and went, why do they have to assume there's something that much wrong with you? There's a lot wrong with me, but they didn't have to say it like that. So I took offense to something that they didn't even say or mean. It was just the way I took it. And so I had to get over that.
Yes. So are you ready for a massive breakthrough in the field? It turns out when there's any kind of a trauma, whether we see something bad happen or something happens to us, there's an electrical shock that happens in our nervous system. They've actually now measured it. And what results from that is a disturbance, an electrical disturbance in our nervous system. So they call it electrical perturbation, or you can call it an electrical tumor. Yeah, he's got a tumor. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of talk therapy after trauma, especially initially. It's very important to talk it out. But I noticed even in my experience, it wasn't very effective in solving the problem. In fact, if I keep talking about a trauma over and over, it's actually going to make it go into my nervous system more. And that's where Gary Craig came in. So it turns out when you tap very specific spots where a nerve comes to the surface of the skin. So here's one right at the start of the eyebrow. So if in the middle of the eyebrow, that's not it. That's not going to do a thing. Okay. So like top of the head here, side of the eye right here, under the collarbone, and then the wrists together. Okay. What that does, whenever you tap on the end of a nerve, it sends an electrical signal down that nerve, just like the doctor when he taps your knee. He's looking for nerve function. Okay. And what happens automatically? Really, Doc, you might want to stand back.
Yeah. I have actually kicked doctors because they stood wrong when they did that for my knee.
Good for you.
And my knee gives a good kick. They
That's how they
didn't
learn a good
appreciate
lesson.
it very much, but it wasn't my fault. My knee.
Yes. And this is the brilliant thing. So our minds know exactly, and sometimes I'm going to say brain, sometimes mind, right? Technically, the brain is just the physical thing, but the mind is the beautiful thing. But your mind knows exactly where in your nervous system that electrical disturbance is from that trauma. And here's the key with EFT tapping is as you tap on it, you think about the trauma. And let's just take one aspect. Literally, the brain is sending those electrical signals being generated to that and defibrillating it like we do with a heart and cardiac arrest. So cardiac arrest, the biggest cause is what we call ventricular fibrillation or VFib, and the heart is just quivering like a bowl of jello. Plenty of electrical activity, but it's not working together so it can't pump. And that's cardiac arrest because there's no blood getting to the brain. So what do we do to treat that electrical problem? We shock it with electricity. That's why this is so brilliant. Now, here's a perfect example. Someone came to me and says, Bob, I'm having nightmares about a head-on car crash I was in. Okay, what are the nightmares about? Oh, the headlights coming at us. What about the sound? Nope, nothing with the sound. Anything else? Any smells, any tastes, any touch, right? Kinesthetic things, just the headlights. So we just started with what was present, right? Just close your eyes, just think about the accident, a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being freaked out of your mind. What are you? I'm at an 8. I'm at an 8. No worries. So we just tap, remembering the headlights coming at them from the event. Okay? About 10 minutes in, I stop and check, how you know? I'm at a 10. A 10. I've never had anyone get worse. Right? I said, for the headlights? Oh, no, the headlights may be a 2. What's the big deal? Oh, Bob, the sound of the crash.
Yeah.
It told me the sound didn't bother you. Oh, it didn't, but it does now. So we
You
tapped
got
on
rid
that.
of one that was covering up the other, and now you
Come
got to
on.
take care of the other.
Yep. So we did the sound, get about 10 minutes. Oh, that's at a 0. Oh, man, what? It turned out the worst part of the trauma was when he looked over, saw his best friend unconscious and all bloody.
Oh,
So
yeah,
the
that freaks
brain,
out.
yeah, the brain will put like layers over the worst part of the trauma so we don't go nuts. It's a gift, right? And if it's bad enough, sometimes we may not be aware of it for years and years and years and years and years.
It put calluses and thicker skin over it so that you can't find it.
Yes. But the brain knows it's there, and you're going to live your life always getting that. Think about someone from Afghanistan, and they've got post-traumatic stress disorder. They can hear a sound, especially a loud sound, and they instantly hit the floor like they're being shot at. They don't think about that sounds like it did when. No, it's instant because
It's instant because that's what it takes to keep you safe.
yes, and it's getting triggered, and then bam, it's sudden. So that's the key. You've got to get to it. Now, the cool thing about EFT tapping, and there are a lot of versions of it, some that are just like, oh, please give me a break. This is physical, scientific. You're creating electrical signals, and it has nothing to do with your belief. In fact, oh, this is great. There were two PhDs that attended Gary Craig's training because they knew it was bunk. It was snake oil salesman stuff, right? And they were just heckling him and all that. And he finally said, do you guys have anything you're still working on? Oh, yeah, we do. Okay, work on each other. Oh, it's not going to work. This is bunk. It's not going to work. It worked, both of them. So it's not the placebo effect in that. Now, that placebo effect is phenomenal. It's very powerful. But this is pure science. That's why on the show notes, I think you'll hopefully put in a link to my training on YouTube for the tapping. And there's even like a 3-minute tap along for stress release, literally in 3 minutes, because it triggers the autonomic nervous system. So even if you're not worried about a trauma or whatever, just the fact if you're under stress, you'll also notice your breathing is shallow and you feel yourself. That was the gift of Bob Ross, the painter. You could be so upset within 5 minutes of watching, oh, happy trees. You're like, oh, yes, happy trees.
He was so chill, but he could make you take a nap if you weren't paying attention. Like he would just, I'm dead.
It's a gift.
I've heard about tapping before because obviously when you're around mental health, people tend to bring ideas to you. Oh, look, if you do this, you'll get better. If you do that, your stomach won't hurt as much. Or if you do this, won't happen anymore. And most of it, I thought at least, like, obviously I haven't been in anything formal. I've never been taught by anybody. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to it. I just like, yeah, whatever. Because I'm a very skeptical person. But I do find myself when I'm stressed out as I knock or tap here.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it helps. Sometimes it just makes me realize, hey, I am like that hurts. So I am alive thing. And it's the little bite of pain.
Well, and you're
Either
right
getting a
on.
pear or
So
pulling
the
it.
interesting thing is people do this, they're going to find they have a sweet spot. Mine is the same place, just right underneath the little space below the collarbone. That's my
Mhm.
sweet spot. So if I don't have much time or something that's really quick, I'll just tap there. And I like to tap alternating as opposed to same time. So we're getting double the blessing, double electrical signal being generated. Yeah, beautiful. In fact, I was working with a gentleman back from the war, and he had severe abdominal pain, lower right quadrant, severe. And it would come and go, and they couldn't find out why he had the pain. CAT scans didn't show anything, MRIs, ultrasound, nothing. And my thought is, really? And I said, so tell you what, we're just going to start tapping on what we know, and that's that pain. So think about the intensity, what it feels like. Does it radiate? Does it throb? Where is it? All that. And let me know if a memory pops up. So what'll happen, especially with EFT, it's unbelievable, is a lot of times the memory pops up to the person, or sometimes I'll get it as an intuitive hit. So we're tapping again, like 10 minutes. All of a sudden I go, "Ooh." I go, we got it. What? Oh, this has nothing to do with that. That's okay. You just tell me. So our unit was on patrol, and a landmine went off, and my best friend was standing to my right, and he took the brunt of the blast. And we didn't have a medic in our platoon, and he's pleading with me, don't let me die, don't let me die. I couldn't save him. I couldn't save him. I'm so sorry. So out of curiosity, where did your friend get hit? Oh, right here. The exact same place. That is the power of our minds in a negative sense, although it was a gift telling him we need to resolve that trauma. So obviously we switched back to that, and we just focused just doing one on the sights, one on just the sounds, one on any thoughts in his head, one on any texture, like blood is slimy, so that can gross you out. And
It's the grounding techniques, the see, feel, hear, smell, taste.
uh-huh. Yep. Yep. And it worked. Went away.
PTSD is also one of those things that a lot of people don't understand. They think it's
Absolutely.
only people who went to war who get
Oh
PTSD.
no.
I am here to tell you that I could not go to war because I am an asthmatic with psoriasis, and those people do not get to go to war. They're too afraid we're going to start itching or something, or not be able to breathe in an important moment. Yeah, sending somebody in that's not going to be able to function properly is a bad idea, maybe.
Yeah.
But I do have PTSD. I also, because of my lucky charms, have CPTSD, which is compound, which just means that I have traumas that lasted a very long time.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a compound PTSD, or they might, I don't know if I'm saying the right C word. Look, I can screw up just as well as the next guy when
Compound,
it comes to
complex.
words.
Sometimes they'll call them
Complex, yeah.
complex. Yeah.
But I also have the big T traumas that only happened over a short period of time.
Mhm.
And so then there's that.
I'm glad you
So
brought that up. So the easiest ones to clear are the one-time events, even if it's really bad. The tougher ones, I'll give you an examples. So I invented a technique that takes away headaches in about 30 seconds based on eye movement. And this woman sent me an email and said, "Hey, Bob, does that work for migraines?" And I said, "Yes, but you have to do it just as you feel it coming on, because once the migraine sets in, it's kind of like a claw." Now, the tapping turns out can actually be, this is before I knew about tapping. No, I didn't know it could be used in tapping, but you can use that for migraines as well. And I said, "Why do you have migraines?" She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "What medically is wrong that's giving you migraines?" "They can't find anything wrong with me." Really? Excellent. So she was up, I think, in Seattle. And so I sent her an email with a little picture of the spots we're going to tap on. I called her on the phone, and I won't use her real name, of course. And so we're just tapping on what was present. So the migraine pain, the light sensitivity, the nausea, just the physical symptoms. And that's a great thing. If you've got something physical going on, just tap on the physical stuff. And about 10 minutes in, I heard 14. "Hey, Mary, what happened when you were 14?" And she just started to bawl. "Oh, Mary, I'm so sorry I made you upset." "Mary, what happened when you were 14?" "My mom got remarried and my stepdad started abusing me." Oh, Mary, I'm so sorry. So, Mary, out of curiosity, when did your migraine start? When I was 14. Oh. And how did the migraines play into the abuse? Ah, Nikki, that's what you wait for. That aha moment. She said the only time he wouldn't abuse me is when I had a migraine. Mary, that's why they can't find anything physically wrong with you. And that's how powerful you are as a human being. You were giving yourself migraines to protect you. Remember, the brain always wants to protect you. And if it has to do that terrible thing of giving you a migraine, it'll do it. So we stopped on the migraine pain and went back to the abuse. And this is an example of that wasn't just a one time. So you just take one event. You could even start with the worst one, but I like to start milder and then do others. And all of a sudden it's like a domino effect and they all just disappear. And the migraines went away and never came back.
Oh, dear.
Isn't that
I
amazing?
have had a headache since 2019, May of 2019. Every
What?
single day, I have a headache. Some days, I get the honorable privilege of having a headache and a migraine,
Oh,
which is just like an echo chamber of stupidity and nonsense in my brain that is very painful and very hard to work through.
yes.
I have been going to a neurologist and got an MRI in Maryland. I went to a neurologist and got an MRI in Texas. And I just recently went to another I got another MRI because I was supposed to go to a neurologist, but apparently in Northwest Arkansas they like lynched all of their neurologists for some reason, and they have two in the entire area. So I can't get an appointment. But I did get in with a neurosurgeon and he had me do some other scan, which was way nicer for my claustrophobic body to do because
Oh,
only
good.
my head had to go into the stupid thing, not the
Nice.
rest of my body, which was
Yeah.
great. They called it like a fMRI or a CAT
Oh,
scan or
yeah,
something. I don't
functional.
know.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that anything has proven is that I have a partially empty cella. So your spinal fluid is usually between a 5 and 20. I could be off on numbers because I don't remember 5 years ago when it was done in Texas.
Sure.
And I had a spinal tap done then. Your high number, say it's 20, whatever it's supposed to be. After they drew off like 3 whatever's of fluid, it was at 20. They then took off like 5 more, and my head felt like it was stuffed full of cotton for the rest of the day. And then the next day, my headache was back. So they do believe that I have pressure in my brain because of spinal fluid. They don't know why or how. They called it idiopathic intracranial hypertension.
Right.
I say that the idiopathic means the doctor's an idiot, but they have a different opinion on what that word means. I do not have a very high opinion of doctors because I keep getting diagnosed with everything under the sun that isn't provable.
Yes. And that's one of the things that, so half my program was actually part of the medical school. So I had to go through same classes that medical students went through. And I got an image of how they're trained. And it's not the physician's fault. They are literally trained to treat symptoms. And they're trained to use pharmaceutical drugs, which sometimes are critical, especially someone, I had a guy whose blood pressure was 240, over 140.
Jesus.
Yeah, he could have exploded
Yeah.
in his brain, right?
Literally hit
Yeah.
pink mist.
Now, in that situation, a prescription drug is the best thing to get it to drop. But we have to find out why it was so high. He never had it before, never had a high blood pressure problem. And that's why you want to get to the cause of the source. And it's even true. So I found when I was treating cancer patients that probably 85% of them had unresolved emotional trauma. Now, physiologically, that would make sense because when we're under that stress, that trauma, even when we're not thinking about it, our brain still knows about it, can suppress the immune system, which makes it hard. In fact, we get cancer cells pop up every day, every single day. And if the immune system is strong, it detects it. It produces certain chemicals, interferon, interleukin, antineoplasms, to take care of it. That's part of the brilliant self-healing mechanism in our body. Now, if our immune system gets overwhelmed, if you're exposed to massive doses of radiation, right?
Or you have psoriasis.
Or if the immune system is suppressed, then you don't have
Mhm.
that same ability. So that would make sense, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I thought of a great analogy. So let's say you moved into a new apartment and unbeknownst to you, there was radioactive cobalt under the floor in your bedroom, under your bed.
You're gonna die.
Right? And you get cancer and they go and they treat you and they say, okay, you're in remission, but you go back to your home and you're re-exposed. We got to look at the cause. If we don't solve the cause. And actually, when I was in the medical school program, I actually was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I'm doing well, thank you. And I was stunned that they weren't focused on why I got it. I'm healthy.
Sorry, I read that in your notes. I didn't say anything because I was just like, yeah, okay, look, completely uncaring.
Yes. Oh, no, that's great. And it's good we bring it up now because
Mhm.
I couldn't believe that they were. I said, what caused this? We're just focused on treating this. Cool. But even logically in my mind, I said, but if we don't find the cause, no, we're focused on treating, we're focusing on treating this. And again, that propelled me first off to walk away from traditional cancer therapy and to focus on helping the body heal. Like I said, probably 85% of folks that I treated had cancer. In fact, they've even estimated that 85% of people in the hospital of any medical problem have unresolved trauma, emotional trauma. Again, that makes perfect sense. Let me look at my notes here, see if I want to save this for a little bit later, but oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll save it for a little bit later, but you can use the tapping for medical problems. As a motion picture set medic, there was a gal who was on the ground in a fetal position, 10 out of 10 pain with severe menstrual cramps. And she takes medication for it, and it's the first time it hadn't worked. So she couldn't take more. She's just
Mhm.
pleading with, and she was the head of a department, I think wardrobe or something, right? So
Mm.
it's not that she could just take the day off. And so I said, you can't take more medication, but I've got a treatment that should help you. He said, really out of the box. Talked about the tapping. He said, anything. So we did that within 10 minutes. It was gone. She was up, completed her day with no pain. I stopped an asthma attack in an Olympic athlete where an inhaler didn't work using tapping. I stopped someone with irregular heartbeats. Now that's an electrical problem, right?
Mm.
And just had them focus on that. Now I don't do that when I'm on duty with the fire department. There are protocols to follow. But when I'm a good Samaritan,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have, so like I said, I have psoriasis. So if I take nothing, my body is anywhere between 85 and 90 something. I think the highest I've ever been was 96 or 7% covered,
Mm, mm.
which unfortunately means that my skin is inflamed. I have all these sores everywhere. That going around kids when you have a visible thing like that is probably about the most traumatizing part of having something like that.
Because kids just react and they're honest.
That
Mommy,
and
mommy.
rude people, because there's always that person that is, ew, what is that? And you're like, dude, you're not 10. You can't say that. But I am clear right now because I take a biologic. I am
Oh,
clear
okay.
right now because I am on 10 milligrams, and I think it's milligrams of methotrexate once a week, which is
Mhm.
the highest dose they can give you in pill form. Methotrexate is a cancer drug. Biologics and cancer drugs will kill you faster than pretty much anything else on the planet. And yeah, so it will kill me. But do I stop taking it and be in agony that will kill me faster? Because pain does weird things to the body. Or do I keep
Yes.
taking it and just whatever? And with my mental health problems, my brain is just, we're ready to die. It's fine. Just don't do
Mhm.
it. So I take my meds because I need them. I don't
Yeah.
like the amounts of pain I am in if I don't. But I
Yeah.
also know that taking them isn't something that should be done for everybody who has psoriasis. Because
Well,
if you have one or two patches on your body at any given point, deal with it, cover it up, do something.
If you look on the
But
television now, half the commercials are for prescription drugs. And by law,
I
if
don't
they
think
tell
they
you,
should be on commercials.
no, if they tell you what it's for, they have to tell you the side effects. Now, when
Oh
the
yeah,
little
which
blue,
is
when Viagra came out, they didn't tell you what it's for. Oh, ask your doctor about the little blue pill. That way they didn't have to tell you the side effects, even though they could be lethal because it could drop your blood pressure. And often the side effects are worse than the disease than to treat.
there's a whole skit for that. Jeff Foxworthy, I think it was, did a whole skit on the side effects of medicine and the
Yes.
things that it'll give you.
And we're one of the few countries that allow,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think they. So I don't think that they should be allowed on TV for two different reasons. One, that allows the pharmaceutical companies to beg for more money off of everybody because look, it's popular. And number two, because people who have nothing to do with the illness then start looking up the illness because they want to be on some specialty medicine. And you
Yep.
end up with people who have mental health problems who end up getting medicine that they don't need.
Yes. And number three, can you see the three? There we go. Number three is people go to their doctor and ask them to put them on something. Even people that don't struggle with mental health. I don't want to get that disease. I don't want to get, right? And doctors, it's a lot easier for them to just to write a script than to say, okay, then let's no, and just talk about this. They might even say that. I know, I insist. That's why I'm paying you as my doctor.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
things are crazy.
Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention when you talked about biologics. So if you look under a microscope at synthetic vitamin C and vitamin C from nature, it's 9-day difference. Now, the core element is the same, but in the microscopic version of the natural vitamin C, you see all these tentacles going out, and that's what communicates with your body to help you absorb it and send it where you need it. But you don't know that, and you think you're going to the store. Oh, look at this 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. Well, first off, it's most likely synthetic, so you're not going to get the full benefit. Secondly, if it's in a pill form, they use high pressure, which is high heat, and that destroys vitamin C. A brilliant discovery several years ago was what they call liposomal vitamin C. So vitamin C is very sensitive to temperature and acid. So your stomach can destroy your vitamin C. So you get 10% of the pill. Right? So if you encapsulate the vitamin C with a phospholipid, it protects it from the heat and the stomach acid, and you absorb 95% of it. The only thing better is an IV of vitamin C. Now, you talk to a doctor about that. Oh, that's just snake oil. No, that's why vitamin C is in nature. It's not just to prevent scurvy. It's like the foundation of our whole immune system is vitamin C and vitamin D.
I have to take vitamins. I think it's C because of the methotrexate. Because
Okay.
methotrexate will strip it from the body.
I'll send you a link to the best liposomal vitamin C that I found.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
have
good
all
stuff.
sorts of things. Like I got a call from the pharmacy today and I got annoyed with her because I was like, this is the third call for meds this month. Y'all need to fix your stuff. And she's like, it's only the one medication. Yeah, how?
Huh.
Please explain to me how, when you were just a couple months ago all on the same track to get them all at the same time. What did you do wrong? You guys need to fix this. I'm hanging up. And I hung up on her. I had another phone call coming in, so I had to go. But no, there's a note in my file that everything's supposed to go at the same time. There should not be one pill on a random Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially
Exactly.
because I take 14 different prescriptions. There's a lot
Wow.
going on in my body. You are not calling me 14 different times in a month to give me prescriptions. Not going to happen. I will get testy with people.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't have the attitude to be dealing with them. Plus, like I said, I was on a conference call when that happened. I was in a group meeting. And then, but I had to answer it because I knew it was my pharmacy. So it was like, I could be doing something that helps my business instead of listen to you for the third time this month. If you
Right.
think I need it, send it to me and leave me out of it. Don't call me like this. I don't care. Like y'all were
Yeah.
warned that I work from home and that I can't have you calling me every 5 minutes. Y'all need to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had a memory pop into my mind, and this is so heartwarming. So I was teaching a CPR and first aid class, and I talk about the emotional stress after having to do CPR on somebody, even if it works, even if you save their life, you can have nightmares. You can have post-traumatic stress disorder. So I talk about the EFT tapping, and I send them a link to my training. And after the training, the safety guy for the company pulled him in his office. He said, "Hey, Bob, does that work for phobias?" I go, "It's phenomenal for phobias." I said, "What's going on?" He says, "I have a fear of dogs."
I do too. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
fine.
the big dogs? No, any dog. It could be a little yapper. And I
Oh
will
no, I'm
jump
not
up on a
afraid of
car.
little yappers. I'm afraid of the big ones because I was attacked by Doberman pinchers.
See? And so I asked him, I said, "So how long has it been going on?" "About 46 years." "What happened 46 years ago?" "Nothing." "Oh, think about how old were you?" "I was about 8 years old." "Okay, think about it. Think about it." "No, no, nothing." "Okay, no worries." So close your eyes, think about a dog. He was sweating, right? Just like nine out of 10. And we just tapped on that. And again, about less than 10 minutes in, I go, "Ooh, we got it." He said, "Bob, I was about 8 years old, and I'm riding my bicycle, and this rabid dog, foaming from its mouth, is chasing me, trying to bite my leg." No wonder that's been in your nervous system 46 years, and that's keep getting triggered every time you see a dog, even if it's a little tiny dog. In fact, I bet even if you just hear the sound of a dog barking, yeah. So we just worked on that trauma or the different aspects of it. And he closed his eyes, thought about it when it happening, couldn't get upset. And he said, "Bob, this is important because I'm going to my sister's wedding, and she's got a dog. I think it's Minnesota or something." And I said, "Think about a dog." "I can't get upset." "Great." So she goes there, he knocks on the door, the dog runs at him. And he said, "Bob, I was totally relaxed. I didn't freak out. I couldn't believe it." And then my sister says, "Hey, let's go to the dog park." No. But I didn't want to her to feel bad. So we went to the dog park. I was fine. All these dogs running around. And I ran into him like just a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Bob, it's been 3 years. Not only do I not have a fear of dog, I've adopted a dog."
Wow, nice.
Wow. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yes. So now I think is a good time. So I've made actually 3 breakthroughs in cancer. One is the hyperthermia effect. Secondly, I was always fascinated with the placebo effect, where people get a sugar pill, but they get healed, but they weren't given anything. If they're told about side effects, they'll have the side effects, but they weren't given anything. Now, when I was in medical school, "Oh, that placebo effect is terrible. It's always getting in the way of our research." I go, "But wait a minute. That means that the mind can do what this drug is doing, but if they say there are no side effects, they won't have any side effects." "Oh, yeah, it's just getting in the way of everything." Just fascinating. So I did a deep dive and figured out how the placebo effect works in the brain. And it turns out the people that get the placebo effect are those that believed it was the real drug. There's the faith, right? And I was so blessed to be raised in a wonderful Christian family, just love and mercy and grace, and kids would flock to our house. And I could never understand why Scripture or God asked for our faith for healing. Why does God need my faith? Is he
Because
going,
if you
"Oh,
don't believe, it can't happen."
if only Bobby Boy would believe I could pull this off. I can't do it without Bobby Boy believing." And that never made sense until it hit. In fact, I got that hit, intuitive
Mhm.
hit. That's the placebo effect. In other words, that miraculous self-healing ability is already in us. It's like water in a pipe. And faith turns on the spigot and lets it flow. And we're talking miraculous. There's a guy two guys, and they had their test results mixed up. One was going to be fine if he changed his diet. One was going to be dead in 6 weeks. So they gave the wrong report to the wrong person. The guy who's going to be fine was dead in 6 weeks because they told him you're going to be dead in 6 weeks.
Mm.
The other guy who believed he's going to be fine if he changed his diet, that's the amazing ability of this. So I modified my brain technique that I use to reprogram the subconscious mind to actually release that placebo effect on purpose. Because it's hard to have faith and belief especially in the middle of a really tough diagnosis. So this kind of bypasses that. And I've seen some just wonderful things. Oh, real quick, true story. So this is a guy had severe multiple personality disorder. One of his personalities, say Jimmy, had a full-blown type 1 diabetes, insulin dependent. Another one of his personalities, James, had no diabetes, a fully functioning pancreas.
Oh,
So, was there anything physically wrong with his pancreas?
no,
What was turning it on and off?
it's mine.
His mind. That's how powerful this little
Mhm.
bugger is.
See, some people are going to hate me for making this comparison, but y'all do you. So there are people, okay, so caveat number one, I do not believe in ghosts. Okay.
Ghosts.
I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe that in any of that crap. It's just one of those things where I don't believe in it. I do, however, think people are idiots and they will go into some jail or psych hospital or haunted mansion after dark with no lights on and scare the absolute bejesus out of themselves. That is the placebo effect in high order. Because if you obviously, some of those people don't even believe that there's such a thing as ghosts, right? But yet they put themselves in a stupid, scary situation. Look, dude, I don't even have to be in a haunted house. Let me get in my own house with absolutely no light coming from anywhere. And there might be something like I hear something or a shadow moves or something, and I'm like, heck no, what was that?
Yeah.
But
And you
you're
interpret any
psyching.
sound you hear. Could be
Yeah.
just a water pipe. And it's, they're here. Right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have super hearing. So I hear a lot more than other people do. Apparently. I don't know. My ears ached the last couple of days, so I'm a little bit done with my ears being my ears.
Yeah.
But so for me, usually for most people, if you want to heighten one sense, you get rid of another.
True.
So if you want to be able to smell better, hear better, or taste something more, get rid of your eyesight. Put headphones on that completely obscure the sounds that you can hear. And you get rid of a sense, your other ones work hyper order. You should therefore maybe be able to do something different with whatever. Fortunately for me, I'm already half blind, so my ears are taking over the world. But when you're in a situation where you feel not safe, and I don't know about you, but going into a building that it's over 100 years old and was known for people to die in, like a institution where insane people were, or a jail where people were, right? And however violently they died, right? And you go in there at night with no lights on, you're going to see stuff. You're going to hear stuff because the limited vision you have is going to be like, is that really a shadow that just moved? Or was that? And then you're going to look at tapes and you're going to be like, yeah, sure, there was a shadow that moved. No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't. That was you breathing. Stop it.
Yeah. Stop that breathing thing.
But nobody compares that to the placebo effect of taking a pill that has nothing in it and having the symptoms go away. For me, it's that reverse thing. So instead of being safe in your own home where your body knows it's safe, you're going to go into some ancient ruin of some kind. And then, oh no, there's ghosts.
And you're probably aware of the nocebo effect. That's where you believe that nocebo, where you believe it's not going to work, and you can actually negate the healing properties of any therapy you're getting. You can actually totally negate it. That's why it's so powerful. So can I tell you about my latest breakthrough?
Sure.
This one is so exciting. So I noticed, besides 85% of my cancer patients having unresolved emotional trauma, I noticed that the different kind of trauma resulted in a different body part affected. Some people would get kidney cancer, some people would get pancreatic cancer, some people get lung cancer. And I go, that's really interesting. As life often presents itself, There was a physician in Germany who was a cancer specialist. That was his full career, and a scientist. So it wasn't just treating people, he was really digging in. He noticed the same thing. And because of his position, he had access, I think, over his career, 50,000 cancer patients. And he meticulously would interview these people and found out there was 100% correlation with the type of trauma and the type of organ where they got the cancer. And probably the best example of this is a man who loses a child, suddenly dies. The biological response of that emotional trauma, testicular cancer, because his testosterone goes through the roof. Now, what's the purpose of his testosterone going that high? The biological purpose.
To produce another child.
Yes, to replace the child that passed away. But that high testosterone gives him what we call testicular cancer. What this doc found out was that when that emotional trauma was resolved, so either like with tapping, right, resolved that trauma of the death, or if the wife got pregnant, or then make him more virile with that high testosterone, or the baby was born, the biological purpose was fulfilled. And guess what the body did to the testicular cancer?
Got rid of
Dissolved it. Dissolved it. Yeah. Just dissolved it. No treatments, no nothing. And again, 50,000 patients, 100% correlation with the type of emotional trauma. Now, depending on the type of emotional trauma, one will be where cell proliferation, and that would be what we call a cancer, and others tearing down tissue, and we call that kidney failure, hypothyroidism, right? But it's the same thing. There's always a biological response to that emotional trauma. And what he discovered, and this is where I come in, if that trauma was unresolved for a year, it would take your body about a year to heal, almost like clockwork. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute. If it's not physically needed to take a year, if that's just built into the programming, then I modified my brain technique to basically instruct the subconscious part of the mind that regulates everything, right? Your healing, your sleep, your heartbeats, and all that, to speed up the healing as fast as possible, safely as possible. And it turns out it's working. It is amazing. He and the scientists that worked with him in this documentation has a 400-page PDF of every type of organ issue and the examples of emotional trauma and all that. And then a friend of mine developed an AI that you can just type that in and it can bring up the type of emotional trauma that causes. And that's my gift, is solving that emotional trauma. And then that automatically triggers the body to heal. And then what you want to do in the healing process is support it, like with that liposomal vitamin C and vitamin D, right, for the immune system and other things. And you can do things like the hyperthermia. You can take hydrogen pills to put in water to increase and that eliminates the free radicals and all sorts of wonderful things just to help that body heal. But the body is already in that healing process. Now, you ready for the next one? So it looks, in fact, I believe it's true, that a good percentage of allergies are a result of an emotional trauma. Now, they don't have to be, just so you know, they don't have to be a life-threatening kind of trauma. It has to be sudden, unexpected, acute, and you feel isolated at that moment. Those are the requirements to qualify as a trauma that would cause a biological response in the body. So the perfect example of that is a child with peanut allergies. And if you ask them, have you had it all your life? Yes. And that most likely means it's just something in your system. Oh, no, it started when I was like 6 years old. Really? Remember, the body is so brilliant. So going back to the time it started, he was eating a peanut butter sandwich when his mom and dad were having a drag out fight, screaming at each other, right? And so the brain associates peanuts to that trauma. That's the trigger. We call it a trigger. Has nothing to do with the peanut itself, but it's so severe emotional reaction that his body goes in that biological response like he has an allergic reaction. Healed that trauma for when he was 6, allergy went away.
So what would happen, or what do you think would be the cause of a grass allergy?
So again, there has to be some sort of an emotional trauma Just one that popped into my mind. Let's say you were a young child, and most of these come from allergies,
Mhm.
especially from young childhood. You've been beat up like by a bully and drug across the grass, or you're being beat up. Maybe they're pulling you by your hair or something.
Mhm.
So it was that shock, dramatic instant. And your brain associated grass that was part of that trauma to that bully beating you. And obviously you don't feel safe if a bully's beating you.
Was never beat up. I didn't have that kind of a bully, but
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Or you took a fall, right? You're riding your bicycle, you took a fall and you slid across the grass and it got in your mouth. And there's so many possibilities. But the great news is, and this is what I really was disappointed in traditional medicine, it's how do we help the body heal? How do we help the mind heal? So again, if we can resolve the trauma from a past event, then there's no need for the medication, which is trying to, the medications don't heal the trauma. They help you deal with what's going on. But we want to heal the trauma so you don't need, hopefully, medications anymore.
Okay.
That's my goal.
So, yeah, I have an allergy to grass. It gets even worse if it's fresh cut grass.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I can't breathe. I don't get to go outside much.
And was that all
Ever.
your life, or did that start at a certain point in your life?
I don't
Remember?
remember.
That Fernando Lamas skit from Sunday Night Live, Billy Crystal. Right now, listen to me now, but believe me later when I tell you, you look marvelous.
Yeah, my asthma appeared in ninth grade, but I can't remember if the grass allergy was around before that, but I think it was.
Okay.
I just don't
So
remember.
here's a little something you can do, and your listeners can do as well if they have something going on. Before you go to bed at night, so this is a technique I invented to help you go to sleep. So the reason we can't go to sleep is our brain is too active. So the brain operates in different frequencies. Right now we're in beta, which is pretty quick, right?
Mhm.
Alpha is that meditative state, and theta is the frequency right before you fall asleep. It usually only lasts, you're aware of it for 5, 6 seconds. You might feel like you're floating or you see a beautiful image or whatever, and then you're asleep. Okay. That turns out is the magic frequency to reprogram the subconscious mind. So lay on your back, has to be on your back, can't be on your side, on your back, and you can even keep your eyes open to start, just for fun. And roll your eyes straight up like you're looking through the top of your head, almost like a monster, right? Just straight to the top of your head. And you take a deep breath through your nose and let it out through your mouth. And as you start to breathe out, you say relaxing. And at the very end of the breath, now. So it turns out rolling up the eyes is a trigger to the brain to slow its brainwave down. And then the breathing through the nose and out through the mouth helps reset the nervous system, calms it down. And the relaxing now is like a hypnotic command. Those three things together, often in 3 minutes, you're asleep. Beautiful. And then for this particular thing, when you're doing that, you just ask your subconscious mind, because again, when your brainwave is slow, you can talk directly with your subconscious mind, not having to go through this filter. That's why theta is so powerful. And I developed guided audios and things for people, which is talks them right through it and goes through the whole healing process of my new breakthrough. And just ask your subconscious mind, please reveal to me, to bring it to my conscious mind, any incident that caused my allergy to grass or that happened before. So it's like a timeline before any sudden shock. I call it a trauma shock, just right, that happened before I developed this allergy. And sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with it, sometimes in the morning, sometimes during the day, all of a sudden, it'll just pop. And that's the key, because then once we identify what that is, then we just heal that and one less thing to worry about.
So I have one final point I want to make.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in toxic positivity. Like you can't out positive some things, and only saying that you have to stay positive all the time is actually detrimental. Does that mean
realistic?
I don't think you should try to be positive when you can? No, you should try to be positive when you can. But there are some situations, there are some instances where telling people, look, walk up to somebody at a funeral home and tell them to just be positive, and I'm sure some old guy is going to punch you in the face. I hope you do well, because you deserve it. We have all these places nowadays that are like, oh, you just have to be positive and you'll get over whatever. Doesn't work that way, Sharon. Shut up. But on the other side of that, when I'm, tying this back into a business sense, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you are working on something and you keep telling yourself, this is too hard, I can't do this, is too hard, I can't do this, you're going to procrastinate the crap out of it. You're going to push the deadline back however many times you can. You're going to start looking like somebody nobody can depend on. All of those things are a self-fulfilling prophecy when you start telling yourself, even if you don't say it out loud, you're saying it to your brain every time you think it.
If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And that's a good point, because when things happen in life or business, our focus is on, oh, the terrible thing that's happened. And now that's important. We need to analyze that. But that should only be 10% of our energy. We need to shift and think, okay, how can I solve this? Make sure this doesn't happen again. And this is huge. This is so huge. What can I benefit? What can I learn from this?
Yep.
And that's how you can redeem those things. Because everything has something we can learn. Oh, I shouldn't stick my tongue in the light socket anymore.
I would posit you shouldn't stick anything in the light socket except for a plug. The things that are made for that.
So that's the key to people that are really successful in business, is they only focus 10% on the problem and 90% on the solution. And gratitude, trying to force yourself to be positive, you have to be honest with what's going on, but gratitude. I'm so thankful and grateful I survived. Again, our brains, as long as we survived, we didn't physically die. That was a win.
But on the other side of that, when you're going through something with mental health, a lot of times you cannot go from a place of thinking, I want to die today, to, oh no, everything in my life is great and I want to be super positive and get myself out of this situation. Because your body's not going to believe you.
And it's not true.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
obviously, if you tried to kill yourself today, tomorrow you don't love yourself. Your body is going to be like, who do you think you're kidding?
Yes.
Probably have to bleep that.
Now, this is very important. So it turns out there's actually a physiology to every emotional state. So when a touchdown is scored, people open up. Yes. When you're nervous, you feel the stomach acids. It's always the same every single time. Severe depression, the physiology of severe depression is down, slumped shoulders, shallow breathing, upper chest. You never see someone severely depressed like this, because it's impossible.
It hurts.
Right? Now, and I learned this from Tony Robbins. And when I was going through my severe depression, all I could see was what was bad in life. I couldn't see anything good. But there were things there, I just couldn't see it. In emergency medicine, we call that tunnel vision, because you're so focused on the patient, you don't see the guy who has the gun that shot the guy. Yeah. But that helps your brain focus, but it also is not a safety. It's not a good safe thing. So we have to break that first before we can safely go in to help somebody. So same thing here. And again, the psychologist, the PhD didn't know what I just told you. So guess what my physiology was when I was in there for therapy? He could have given me the key to life, gone right over my head. If he just said, Bob, stand up, put your hands on your hip, take some deep breaths, do jumping jacks, anything to change that physiology, it would have taken me from severely depressed to severely sad. Now, severe depression was emotional tunnel vision, like I said. When you're severely sad, you can ask the person, okay, is there anything good in your life? No. Did you sleep in your bed last night? Yeah. You know, the people that sleep on the street, isn't that good that you had slept in bed? Oh, yeah, write that down. You have a cat? Yeah. You like the cat? Yeah. Write that down. And what that does helps the brain realize that not everything is bad, and helps your brain process the stuff that is bad, get you out of that thing. And it's a change in that physiology. Going for a walk, deep breaths, anything especially even when you're under a lot of stress, you just move the body, take those deep breaths, because you'll find out
I saw a video. Look, I watch shorts all the time. I get stuck into that loop. I am not better than anybody else out there. But I saw this video where the lady was like, you can't go from attempting something to I love myself. I'm the best human being that's ever been. Your brain's not going to believe you. Your body's not going to believe you. You literally just tried to take yourself off the planet. Nothing, not any atom of belief is in your body that you love yourself. So this person posited that maybe instead of going from severe, I'm taking myself off this planet right now, to the other severe of I love myself, right? Is that we become tolerant of ourselves. So
Or even
maybe
look for the
today I
things that
don't
are
want
good.
to.
Look for the
Maybe-
qualities in you that are good. And we all
Yeah.
have them. Yeah.
Yeah, we recognize where something is good, but we also recognize that we're tolerating ourselves. We want to not go anywhere. You're not trying to fool your body into saying, oh, yeah, no, I love myself. You're edging towards that by starting at the point from, I'm going to be on this planet for a while, so I probably should like myself, or at least
that's where-
tolerate myself. And
and
then
that's
you
where
get to the
gratitude-
point where you can say, I like myself. And then you
Yes.
can get to the point where you say you love yourself. And another video I saw, Elise Myers, awesome lady.
Oh, yes,
She's
I've heard of
all
her,
over
yeah.
the internet. She put out a video where it was snowing outside, and I don't know what her purpose was at first to doing the video, but she was like talking and she said snowing outside, and all of a sudden she said, I'm so glad I'm here to see this, because she had attempted, I guess, when she was younger, or wanted to attempt. I don't know if she actually did. And so she said, I'm so glad that I am here to see this. I love this.
There's that gratitude,
And
right?
and then she
Beautiful.
started crying because she never
Yeah.
thought she would get to that point. When you're in the thick of it, when you're in the darkness, you're not going to believe that you can get to a point where you're looking at snow outside going, I love that I am still here for this.
If I had a white hanky, I'd be waving it.
Right.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people they get diagnosed with something, they take a year or two, and then they're back to it and they're fine and dandy and whatever. I took a lot of years to get back on my feet. I got knocked down. I got put a couple feet under the ground while still breathing, right? And I had to come back from that. It was not an overnight thing. It took years. It took a lot more years than I feel it should have, because it took 7.
Yeah.
But at the same, and I still have my bad days. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
Sure.
perfect. I have mental illnesses, like plural. So I have my days. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm here for a reason. I know that I'm staying here for a reason that seemeth me good.
Yep.
And I know that at some point, even if it's not here on this earth, I will figure out why I had to deal with all of the things I had to deal with. Why
Even doing-
everybody else's agency had to affect me.
Even doing this podcast, you're doing a good work for others.
Trying.
Right? You're giving. Yeah. That was something my mom
So-
said. If you're really hurting, find somebody else who's hurting and do something for them.
Yep.
Get the focus to them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my purpose with all of this, is to
Nice.
give people the tools and tips and things that I didn't have when I was that dark, to be able to come out of it maybe a little bit faster than I did.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So is it okay if since somebody might be just listening and not watching the video, can I give my websites?
Yep.
Yeah. The one for cancer is thehidden secrettohealing.com. So thehidden secrettohealing.com. And for emotional healing, it's thehidden secrettoemotionalhealing.com.
Okay.
And
Those
on
will be in the descriptions below.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's like a free 45-minute master class, how to keep your body hostile to cancer cells, help not get it in the first place, and what to do if you have it.